The LaLaurie Mansion stands alone on Royal Street, an imposing presence in the heart of New Orleans' French Quarter. Its grand facade, with its soaring columns and intricate ironwork balconies, hides a darker truth, one that has left an indelible mark on the city's history. Beyond its beauty lies a legacy of cruelty, torment, and unspeakable horror. Built in the early 1800s, the LaLaurie Mansion was the home of Delphine LaLaurie, a wealthy socialite known for her charm and grace. But behind closed doors, Delphine's obsession with perfection and status concealed a much more sinister side. It's said that her fascination with the macabre began long before the mansion itself was complete. She kept slaves, human beings, who served as her personal prisoners, forced to endure unimaginable torture. The most horrific of these stories come from a room on the top floor, one that was kept locked at all times. Whispers spread among the slaves who spoke of chains bolted to the walls, of blood-stained floors, and the faint cries of the forgotten. They said that Delphine would experiment on her captives, twisting and warping their bodies in her quest for control. Tortures ranged from beatings to mutilations, and any who disobeyed were condemned to the most unspeakable fates. One particularly chilling tale is that of a young girl, believed to be Delphine's favorite victim. She was said to have had her limbs removed, her flesh left to rot while she screamed in agony, all for Delphine's amusement. The girl's disfigured remains were never found, and her tortured spirit is said to roam the halls of the mansion, forever searching for the justice that was denied her in life. Locals began to fear the mansion long before it was abandoned. Whispers of strange noises, chains rattling, footsteps pacing the halls, became a common occurrence. Late at night, neighbors would hear faint cries echoing from within the walls, cries that grew louder and more desperate as the nights wore on. But when brave souls ventured into the mansion to investigate, they found nothing but silence, oppressive and suffocating. After Delphine LaLaurie fled New Orleans during the slave rebellion of 1834, the mansion sat abandoned for decades. Yet, even as time passed and decay claimed the once grand building, the stories persisted. The mansion became a place that drew paranormal investigators, thrill seekers, and skeptics alike. A place where the very air seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. One of the most terrifying accounts comes from a group of paranormal researchers who spent an entire night in the mansion. Armed with cameras and EMF detectors, they made their way through the darkened halls, each step echoing with an eerie resonance. Every room they entered seemed colder, more oppressive, as if the spirits of the tormented slaves were feeding off their fear. Suddenly, in the hallway that leads to the locked room, their equipment went haywire. Lights flickered erratically, and their cameras captured ghostly apparitions, faint, shadowy figures with hollow, sorrowful eyes. The investigators heard whispers, soft, haunting murmurs that seemed to come from the very walls. "Help us! Please! Help us!" The voices pleaded, growing louder and more desperate. One investigator, a seasoned skeptic, scoffed at the idea. But as they continued down the hallway, a sudden chill enveloped them. Their breath misted in the air, and the temperature dropped to an unnatural low. The once solid ground beneath their feet began to shift, as if the mansion itself was alive, writhing beneath the weight of its dark history. And then, in the depths of the mansion, something more horrifying happened. One investigator, alone in a side room, described seeing Delphine herself. Not a shadow, not an apparition, but the distinct figure of a woman, dressed in a tattered gown stained with blood. Her eyes glowed with malevolence, and her face twisted into a grotesque, haunting smile. She reached out, her fingers icy cold, as if beckoning him toward his doom. The investigator fled, but the terror followed him out the mansion's front door, lingering in his thoughts long after he had escaped. Over the years, others have reported similar encounters. They speak of doors slamming shut on their own, cold hands gripping their shoulders, and the unmistakable sound of footsteps following them through the dark corridors. Many claim to see the tortured spirits of the slaves, their mutilated forms still bound in chains, wandering aimlessly in the shadows. They cry out for freedom, their agony tearing through the fabric of reality. One of the most chilling phenomena is the sound of Delphine LaLaurie's voice. Soft, seductive, yet cruel beyond comprehension. Some have claimed to hear her whispering, promising power and wealth, only to be met with the reality of her twisted horrors. Those who have experienced this voice report an overwhelming sense of dread, their sanity teetering on the brink of collapse. Today, the LaLaurie Mansion remains a haunted shell, a grim reminder of the atrocities committed within its walls. Attempts to restore and turn it into a museum have been abandoned after countless paranormal incidents, each more horrifying than the last. Tour guides who once led visitors through the mansion have stopped working, unable to endure the relentless, malevolent presence that seems to inhabit the building. Locals refuse to pass by the mansion after dark. They know the stories are more than just legend. They are warnings, and anyone brave or foolish enough to challenge the darkness of the LaLaurie Mansion risks becoming part of its twisted history. So, as the shadows lengthen and the night falls, beware. For in the stillness of the French Quarter, the spirits of the past wait. They haunt not just the mansion, but the very ground it stands upon, reminding all who enter that some horrors refuse to die.